Hello, hello, it's Yuni here and welcome back to another Where Winds Meet video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a Nameless GVG guide for newbies and players with high ping, and I'm talking about 150 to 300 ping. So this is what it looks like when you have high ping and you're playing as Nameless. And this is what it looks like when the ping is actually slightly better. And I'm in Australia, so it's going to be 150 ms in terms of better. So let's get to it. First thing we're going to focus on is your stats. So this is the stat priorities that you want to focus on. Minimum for max physical attack is 2k. Minimum for precision is 94%. Crit rate is not a priority. Your affinity, most likely 30% plus if you can. Optimal is 2.2 to 2.3k at max physical attack. If you can go higher, go for it. With your precision, we're looking at about 94 to 98. That's because with some of the discussions, people have said the abrasion hits also trigger affinity. Otherwise, if you don't want to get too like nitpicky with the maths, then just go 100% for your precision rate. Again, crit, not a priority, and then affinity, 40%. Stat priority, we want rolls on max physical and affinity. Momentum, because it gives both max physical and affinity. You want max spell strike and precision. It's good to have stats like power because it gives you max physical, any other min attribute attacks, and then damage boost versus players. Now, if you get min spell strike or min physical or agility, reroll those to get the stats above with the priority or the ones good to have. Now with these stats, we are really looking at min-maxing pretty much everything, and that is because we have really high ping, so min-maxing your stats is going to offset that ping. Every single wave that you cast has to amount to something, so if you're going to cast at least one wave, make sure that wave hits a ton to your enemies. Now we're going to look at the gear attunements and we're looking at your weapons. So one of your weapon must have the recover 50 endurance after casting execution. If you can get it in gold, that's great. If not, look at mine, it's purple and that's absolutely fine. Now the recover endurance skill actually works regardless of which weapon you're using as long as one of your weapon have it, which means your second weapon is free to get another attunement, and I would go for physical penetration. For the charm, we want Shan Kun's Lock Immobilize, either in purple or gold. This is for your spear Q, and it immobilizes your enemies for a little bit longer. With your pendant, you're going to want the Charge Skill Vagrant Sword, either purple or gold. Again, if you can get gold, fantastic. If not, purple is fine. Now, with all of these attunements, if you cannot get the specific above, go for physical penetration for all four if you have to. Physical penetration works in both PvE and PvP. Next is your armor attunements. For your braces and greaves or your hands and feet. You want the Nameless Sword Charge skill, purple or gold is fine. I unfortunately don't have it in my greaves, I'm still working on it, so I've just put this spear charge skill. The game is trolling me, it is fine. With the helm and the chest piece, this is where you want the arena attunements because it's going to give you the damage reduction when you're staggered, or Mystic's martial arts skill damage reduction, so those two are the ones you want for your arena attunements. With the gear set for weapons, I would use Hawkwing because it gives you affinity boost. Plus, when you trigger affinity damage, which you will at really high affinity percentage, it also gives you physical attack. I know they have the Jadeware set, which is the recommended one, but this is a bit too much RNG for my taste, so I would go for Hawkwing. For the armor set, I would choose Eagle Rise as opposed to like the Form Bend set, which yes, it increases your chi shield, but you're not really going to be using that skill to get your chi shield up, mainly because you just want to be casting waves at really high ping. You don't really have that option to do all these fancy combos, especially in GVG. This also applies to the Calm Water set. This is fantastic if you don't have ping and you can run and dodge, but when you're playing at 150 to 300 ping, you're not going to be dodging anything really. You'd be lucky to deflect some hits, so that's why I would choose the Eagle Rise set. It's entirely up to you and your playstyle, but these two are the ones that I would go for. Now for Innerway priority, we have Sword Morph, we've got Battle Anthem, we've got Mountain Smite, and then we've got Moral Chant. So ideally you want to get your Sword Morph to T6. This is the biggest priority that you want for a Nameless player, followed by Battle Anthem, and then Mountain Smite. Now there is the Wildfire Spark. This becomes really good at tier 6, but if you are relatively new and you want to prioritize Sword Morph to tier 6, this to tier 6. Mountain Smite in tier 5 outshines Wildfire Spark in tier 5, so I would prioritize Mountain Smite first. Obviously later on, if you do want to, you could use Wildfire Spark at tier 6 if you had to choose between these two. With Moral Chan, it is really good to have, but it's not a huge priority. Keeping it at tier 5 is more than enough, especially if you're trying to get your Sword Morph to tier 6, because later on there is going to be a purple Innerway that we would be using as Nameless that takes over Moral Chan's position. Now for your Mystic skills, you're going to prioritize Flute of the Tides, next is the Ghostly Steps, and your Serene Breeze. So these three are definite must to reach to season peak. Next you're going to want Lion's Roar, Leaping Toad, and then Cloud Steps. Now you can also have Soaring Spin and maybe the Flaming Meteor, but those ones you have to be careful when you're using, and I'm going to explain why. So with these skills, the Flute of the Tides is a no-brainer. It is an AoE damage and it really does help when you're fighting like the Bullvox or if you're fighting the Goose. With the Ghostly Steps, this is actually really good because it grants a 10% reduction on endurance cost for all skills, which means you get more waves out of your charge skills. I would prioritize Lion's Roar and Leaping Toad. It's really helpful when you have really high ping and you accidentally get into the clumps and you literally cannot get out. There's no deflection for you. You can use Leaping Toad to get out and then use Lion's Roar to silence people. Be careful though, with all of these skills, do not click one after another, because if you have a lot of ping, what you're going to notice is that you will cancel your own skills. So just be very mindful. If you're going to use Leaping Toad, let the animation play out first before you click on Lion's Roar. Now, with the Flaming Meteor and Soaring Spin, whilst both of these Mystic skills are really good to have, if you have high ping, what's going to happen is Soaring Spin will target that one enemy, and if that one enemy runs into their teammate, you are going to Soaring Spin into a clump and you're going to get targeted and it's going to be very difficult to get out. So I will have this, but I will only really use it if I'm like needing to fight that one healer that's outside of the clump. Same with the Flaming Meteor. It is really good to have because you think big AoE damage, but the issue with this skill is that it's really hard to control, especially if you're lagging. Plus, even though it gives you a reduction on damage when you're on the horse, it doesn't mean you are immune to damage. So there will be a very good chance that you actually get picked off whilst you're on the horse, or after you land, you're going to land into a clump and then that's where you get picked off. So just remember, because you do have high ping, we are at a very big disadvantage because we can't recover quickly enough. So we need to be able to position ourselves and put ourselves away from the clumps and away from situations where we will get picked off. Here is going to be your GVG rotation. Now, you are going to use your E, cancel, 3 waves followed by another 3. If you do have a good position and you can continue using your waves, you can do so, but have a look. You are pulling your character closer and closer to your target. You do not want to be doing this quite often, because if your target is here, most likely the teammate's going to be here. If you crawl all the way in, you are going to get picked off, you're going to get clumped in, and you cannot get out with high ping. So ideally what I would do is E, cancel, and you're going to have to do it very slowly as well, unfortunately, because of the lag. After 2 hits, if there is a big clump, I would move away, reposition, E, cancel, and then do my waves again. Because of the ping as well, and also because you don't want to get clumped, if you need to replenish your endurance by switching to your spear Q away from the clump. Because as you can see, when you Q, you move your character as well to the position that it's facing. I would look away from the clump, Q, and then switch back and go again with my waves. It seems very boring, but this is pretty much the GVG rotation. So if, for example, your tank is here and it's clumped in all the enemies together, then you're going to want to use your flute. And then you're going to want to use your ghostly steps. And now you have that opportunity to continue spamming your waves. because if your tank can control the enemy and they've been grouped together, they're most likely trying to get out and not trying to attack you. So you do have that little bit of a leeway to, you know, spam your skills. One last thing I do want to mention is, as you can see, I keep using the E cancel before I do my charge attack. Now, people with good ping will tell you don't have to do that, right? You can just spear Q, switch, and then start with your charge. This doesn't work some of the time. So what I would always do to make sure that I do cast my 3 waves is I would E cancel, even if I do my spear Q. Another thing to keep in mind with the rotations is always reposition when you can, because if you get interrupted whilst you're charging, that's charge attack wasted. That's about 3 seconds wasted, and with high ping you're going to become a stationary target. So just remember, a dead Nameless is a useless Nameless. So you want to be able to cast your waves as much as you can, but not at that cost of where you become a liability for your healers, where your HP is always super low and they have to always constantly be on you to heal you. Reposition where you can, so you know where the enemies are, then you know where to cast your waves. I hope this video was helpful for any new Nameless players and those with high ping. I will be making a second video on GVG positioning for Nameless, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys find this video helpful. If it was, leave a like and subscribe to see my next video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!